What's something that's about to happen that most people aren't aware of? The dead internet theory has basically already started. The theory outlines that once AI becomes so good we can't tell what's real or fake, the internet will die off as bots just interact with other bots 24/7. There's no longer anything authentic, and even creators lose their jobs to great prompt writing on Sora. We're absolutely already there, but I honestly think it's less that AI has become good enough, and more that the average person you interact with on the internet is dumber than shit, so AI literally doesn't have to try to compete. What's the difference between talking to AI and talking to someone who can't comprehend their own point? Honestly, in my opinion, the only good thing about the internet is networking for those in need, both human and animals. It has a vast reach. Other than that, it's a time vampire and is destroying human interaction. Part of it is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. You have these morons who think they have their AI detection algorithms figured out, when all it really is looking for M-dashes, and basically someone putting a smidgen of effort in their writing. Heaven forbid, someone actually use a Mac keyboard with the Option+Shift+ shortcut for M-dashes. This hits those who learned English far harder, as they tend to have a more bookish way of writing, which these armchair AI detectors love to pick on. When one person attacks someone, the mob does too. It's to a point that a well-formed argument gets these ad hominem attacks, challenging the user's humanity. That is bound to drive engagement away. Our food sources are going to almost completely collapse with the environment, for a lot of different reasons. Only one of them needs to happen, but we have a bunch of factors going against us, making it almost certain one thing is going to kill billions of people off. Climate change, insect loss, soil nutrient depletion, and so on. It's going to be so bad. We've already killed the living world, all that's left is what we farm. There's no coming back from that, even if we tried, which we aren't. How do so many people not get this? On November 21st, you will be able to see Uranus with the naked eye. It will be at its closest point to Earth. Any time in the month or so before or after will also be fine. The catch is that at magnitude 5.6, you'll need to be somewhere dark enough to clearly see the Milky Way to see it, because it's only marginally brighter than the faintest stars the average person can see from a dark site. Binoculars should be able to see it anywhere except a really light-polluted location. Naked eye, you'll probably also need a really good memory, or a sketch or a photo, and a second viewing at least a week later to confirm you saw it as the only thing that moved. With a telescope, around 100 times magnification will resolve it into a disk, but even at lower magnification, it should appear green, allowing for confirmation in a single viewing. I'm not sure if binoculars will gather enough light to see color or not, but I can see it every day at any time with a mirror. God damn, man, after all the world-ending stuff, thank you for this one. An explosion of healthcare aids to assist the staggering amount of autistic children that cannot live alone as adults. I worked with adult individuals with special needs. Even the most well-intentioned parents get burned out, especially as they become seniors, and send them to organizations where they have 24/7 care but are able to live as adults. It's a job that I cannot yet replace. I have 3 autistic teenagers, and at the moment I can only see one of them functioning okay as an adult. They're all high-functioning, but it's difficult to see how they'll manage with responsibilities. My son's 18, but has no confidence in himself doing anything responsible. He won't even go to the shops on his own. He's in his last year in school, and they've just started trailing him as a teaching assistant for a few hours a week to build his confidence. He's excellent at it. He's the oldest student in the school, but is a natural at helping the younger kids out. We're praying it helps him at least have some confidence in himself. ICE will be sent to polling places in the deep blue precincts of toss-up or left-leaning districts to stop Democrats from voting. And the media either won't cover it or will act surprised, just as they did for January 6th, despite that being equally predictable. Not everywhere. At the start of the year, there were 21,900 ICE agents. They have been trying to hire 10,000 more since the Build Back Better Act passed. There are over 90,000 polling sites in the country. They will probably terrorize a few blue strongholds, but they cannot terrorize all of us at once. Didn't something like that happen with the Bush-Gore election in Florida? It wasn't ICE, but some group prevented a recount. Evil people. The push for AI and the tech billionaires trying to push that as innovation will make the dead internet theory a reality. It already kind of is, and will make people actually go outside again to seek real human interaction, away from AI, bots, algorithms, and so on. God, I hope you're right about the backing away and seeking human interaction part. It makes me sad that the most accurate future movie is WALL-E. I honestly already think it's happening on a grassroots level. People are bored of the internet. Yes, still addicted to our phones, but we're not impressed with online bullshit anymore. My theory is, if people get tired enough, there will be more of a push to validate who's actually human with something a little more resilient than CAPTCHA. I'm talking about certain authentication providers requiring a lot more when you register and websites blacklisting traffic that hasn't been through them. The collapse of the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Current. It's the ocean current that's responsible for the mild climates in Europe by transporting hot ocean water from the Caribbean up the Gulf Stream. The melting ice caps and glaciers affect the salinity and therefore density of the water up near the Arctic, interrupting this current. If the AMOC collapses, and it has before, Europe will become inhospitable. Astronomer and planetary scientist here. This is a real thing to keep an eye on. The easiest way to think about this is that if Earth is like the human body, this conveyor belt is sort of like a key component of Earth's cardiovascular system. Rising temperatures seem imminent. We aren't in full agreement on whether those temperatures will cause this shift to go past the tipping point. But if it does, it will change the Earth as we know it. There's nothing we can do at this point. The fate is already decided. We just don't quite know what that fate will be. Has anyone seen Jake Gyllenhaal? We have reached a critical desalinization point the day after tomorrow. Pretty sure the soil fungus that killed off the Gros Michel banana, the larger and tastier banana we had before the Cavendish bananas we have now, has evolved. The banana species we have now was resistant to this, and it's likely in our lifetime the banana we know now will need to be genetically modified or they will be gone. Fun fact, it's not been killed. It just can't be grown commercially anymore. You can still buy it from a few smaller operations. There are a few places in Florida. Since I learned that, trying it is on my bucket list. Bananas don't need to be genetically modified. We need to have banana orchards that are genetically diverse, that naturally prevents the spread of harmful microbes. Monocultures are the reason for that huge crop failure, and people act like they learned nothing last time. So rather than have one kind of yellow banana, we can have many hundreds of kinds of fun, other colored bananas which other countries actually have. Also, the Big Mike bananas still exist. Perhaps, perhaps not. CRISPR exists and bananas are big enough business that there are probably people working on this. All of the beech trees and all of the ash trees in North America will be dead or dying within 15 to 20 years. The country will look very, very different. Edit. Neither of the causes for this are established in the UK. Do not believe the person below claiming the beech and ash bounced back when it happened in the UK. Even if that is what ultimately happens in the US, it's certainly not going to happen in our lifetimes, or your children's and grandchildren's lives for that matter. Yep, beech have been able to mostly deal with beech bark scale, but beech leaf disease is a totally different beast. Many eastern forests will become standing tinderboxes within the next 10 years, particularly when combined with more severe and prolonged drought. My K-12 school growing up had a huge 100-year-old beech tree in the center. It was such a part of the campus, it was even our school logo. High school sweethearts carved initials. You could read books in the shade. Kids would play with the seed pods and have sword fights with branches. The property used to be an old farmhouse over 100 years ago, and supposedly even ran moonshine during Prohibition, and that tree stood since those days. Now the big beech is gone, and I haven't been so sad losing a tree since reading Shel Silverstein as a kid. 80% of the beech trees in my neighborhood have died in the last 5 years. I have one in the front yard that will cost $1.200 to cut down if or when it dies. Location: mid-Michigan. I knew someone within the pork industry who was absolutely convinced that within the next 5-ish years, there will inevitably be a worldwide pig pandemic that would cause significant pork shortages due to strategic euthanasia. Not sure if they're right or not, but it's possible. I've often wondered how long it will take the feral pig population to get so massive that it gets wiped out by some swine flu or something. I work in agriculture, and there's so much bird flu around it would blow your mind. It never makes the news, at least here in Australia, but I see frequent culls of 1 million or more chickens and exclusion zones being set up due to outbreaks. It'll only get worse. I think our economy is closer to collapse than anyone in media or government is letting on. Yes, Wall Street is thriving, but around 60% of Americans are struggling with basic needs and would be devastated by a $1.500 emergency expense. This is unsustainable, and AI is going to make it much worse very quickly. It's messed up to me how stock market performance is the only metric most people care about to quantify an economy's health. Unemployment rates, consumer debt, poverty rates, wages compared to inflation all tell us far more about how the average person is faring than the S&P 500. Our distribution of wealth will be like the United Arab Emirates. You'll either be dirt poor or a multi-billionaire. There will be no in-between. I agree. Things are starting to seem very shell-gamey among the really big companies. I'll invest a couple $100 billion in you. You do the same for someone else. They'll do the same for me. And everybody gets to recognize all that sweet, sweet revenue on our quarterly statements. Doesn't matter that it's the same stuff flowing round and round. Feels very .com-esque lately, from someone who's old enough to have lived through it while working in the tech sector. The encroaching surveillance state. Your privacy is essentially non-existent, and things are getting much worse. Millionaires and billionaires are building doomsday bunkers in remote compounds. Mainstream media isn't asking why. They've been doing this for years. There are so many scary warning signs all over, and people just act like nothing is happening, because it's scary to think that we might really be on the precipice of something huge. Posting without checking comments, so I do not know if it's been said already. But Serbia is about to hit the 1-year anniversary of the Novi Sad railway canopy collapse. The students have been protesting for almost an entire year, and currently people are marching from all over the country to Belgrade and Novi Sad. I think it's going to be a big one, but I have a bad feeling about the potential for police violence and suppression. Pumpage. Gotta applaud Serbs' commitment. A whole year of protests is wild. Hopefully the authorities don't attack the population. Are we still set to run out of helium, or was that just something I imagined? Edit. Apparently we have helium in abundance. Lots of it. Many well-written, big-worded responses have told me so. I really was just asking a stupid stoner question, not declaring facts. I think Hank Green has a video on that. It was a different process to get it, so they get it as a byproduct of natural gas, though they can now just get it by itself. I think they just found a bunch in northern Minnesota, but I do not know what's happening with that. China floated some over in a big balloon last year, so we're good. The US electricity system is precarious. As Trump cuts clean energy projects, AI takes up more power or energy than we've needed before, and much of our infrastructure has been patched, not upgraded. We may start seeing way more brownouts. Edited for grammar. And don't forget how vulnerable the US utility grid is to cyber attack. That in addition to the capacity issues you mentioned. Yep, I worry about the US infrastructure and energy systems the same way a lot of people worry about prions. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps. Subscribe for more, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.